Hello, you beautiful people. Obviously, I am no longer in Peru. I've made it back to New York. Sorry for going dark for so long. A lot has happened, and not really in the bad way, just like so much of my life has changed so quickly and so much needed to be done that I just didn't really have the opportunity to, make another video. But I think my videos should get more regular now as things are starting to settle down. There's one more little period that's coming up here soon. I don't know if you can see the dog in the background there. There's one more period that's coming up soon that might be a little bit rocky because I am starting a new job, and I'm not really sure how that's going to be affecting my schedule quite yet, but it should be okay. It's looking like I'm probably going to be working the weekdays and not so much on the weekends, but I'm not 100% sure yet, and I'm open to things with them. So anyway, it's a good job. I am happy about the job itself, and I'm going to be doing some good stuff. I'm going to be helping people out with making sure they get what they need. It's a good job. Anyway, but yeah, I haven't actually seen the ocean like this close to it. I haven't seen the ocean in like 2 or 3 years now. So this is actually my second time being down here. The first time I took the dog real quick just to kind of introduce him, but now I'm here for a minute more. Yeah, very pretty. I definitely missed it. I'm not a big beach guy, but when you haven't seen the beach in a while, it's quite nice to be able to stand here and kind of soak in the waves and everything, the sun. So what actually happened from the moment that I left Peru to this moment now, which was, I left on the 21st was the day that I actually left. So yeah, it's been almost 2 weeks now. So what did that time look like? So first of all, there's a lot of packing up the house. I actually don't even know when my last video was, but anyway, lots of packing up the house. And obviously I came with a dog, and for some of you that don't know, I have a cat as well, both found in Peru. So there was a lot of paperwork and stuff that needed to be done for them. So we got all that stuff done. We actually, it wasn't too bad. It was just an expensive process of basically paying a vet, paying SENASA, which is like the CDC of Peru, and then paying the US version of the CDC. We had a lot that we had to do to get him ready. The cat was a lot easier. So from that point, we got everything packed up. We ended up having 4 suitcases was the maximum that we could bring. So we packed as much of our life up into 4 suitcases that we possibly could, and we got on the plane. I have a couple of incomplete videos on of like Cusco waiting for the airport, but basically traveling with a dog and a cat, both not in checked. They were both up in the cabin with us because Urco is a service dog, and the cat, you can just bring them on anyway. So basically, traveling with both of them was quite difficult. First of all, they were both very, very well behaved, but there wasn't a lot of space for them. The airline itself, they were very accommodating to the best of their ability, but the planes just weren't big enough to have him under the seat. And that's why he needed to be a service dog, though, because they have a certain like size requirement for animals, and he was like a pound over that size requirement. So anyway, things got a little interesting, but actually the first flight from Cusco to Lima wasn't too bad. But when we were inside of the airport there, we actually didn't find out whether he was going to be permitted on the flight until, I want to say like 5 minutes before the flight. We were actually sitting there super anxious, wondering if they were going to let him on the flight, because in Peru they have these specific standards for service animals that, first of all, emotional service animals, they don't care. If they're an emotional service animal, they do not let them on the plane. Second of all, they can't ask you everything about it, but they can be a little bit more pushy about getting information in Peru than they can in the US. Like in the US, if you just tell someone's a medical service dog and you provide them papers, you don't have to give them any more information than that. In Peru, depending on the company, they might ask you for more, and that's not completely out of the realm of what they can ask. So yeah, we were sitting there, we were nervous whether they're going to let him through. Then we get on the actual plane, get over to Lima, and both airports in Cusco and in Lima didn't really have a pet relief area. So it was a lot of like hoping that the dog and the cat didn't like poop all over the place, which we were very, very lucky that at the Lima airport they didn't do that. We then got on our flight from Lima to the United States. It ended up being like a 9-hour flight. I think it was supposed to be 7, but we get on the flight, everything's ready, and as soon as the seatbelt sign comes off, the cabin asks, is there anyone on the plane who has any medical experience? And a couple people got up and went to the back, and yeah, basically they prolonged like the feeding and the giving us drinks and stuff like that, which I didn't really care too much, but there was a medical thing happening on the plane. Apparently some woman in the back was laying on the ground. I'm not fully certain what had happened yet, or I'm not fully certain now what had happened, but essentially there was someone who was having a medical emergency on the plane. We were crossing over Colombia and starting to get into or maybe it was Venezuela. Basically, we were crossing into the Gulf, like, of Mexico, and in the direction of where we needed to go. We were probably like 2 or 3 hours in, and all of a sudden we felt the plane turn around, and they announced to us that they were having an emergency landing. So now we've had a dog and a cat on the plane that haven't gone to the bathroom since, honestly, Cusco, which was like 4, 5, 6, I want to say maybe 7 hours before. We end up turning around, and then we have to sit in Colombia for an emergency landing while they figure out what they're going to do with this woman, how they're going to help her. The woman ends up exiting the plane. They refuel, but we're stuck there for like 2 hours before we take off again. And both my partner and I, first of all, we were already on the plane for about the amount of time that we were supposed to be in the air for, because we went 2 hours out, came back an hour and a half, and then we were sitting on the plane for another 2 hours waiting to like launch or take off again. It was pretty crazy. We are very, very blessed at how well that went for the dog and the cat. Then we ended up getting to the U.S., and that was the last kind of point of our insecurities when it was coming. Here, basically, when you get to the U.S., you have to give them over to the CDC, and two things can happen with that. The first one is the CDC has a question mark amount of money attached to how much it's going to cost for them to inspect your dog. Because first of all, they don't really know what they need, and they might have to keep them overnight. So basically they say it can be anywhere from $1,000 to $5,000, maybe more, depending. So we were flying in with this big question mark amount of money. But second of all, they can turn around at any time and decide if your animal is not allowed in the US for whatever reason, you don't find out until that day, and then they just send your animal back to the country they came from without you. Like, I guess we would have had to organize someone to come pick him up in Lima. I don't really know. Obviously, that didn't happen because he's right here with me. But we were sitting there like, what if... And basically, it takes them a few hours to actually do all the tests and stuff and calm them down and get them in a good state of mind and everything. So we were sitting there just kind of like anxiously awaiting whether our dog was going to get sent back to Peru or not. It was a low chance, but still, it was enough that we were like worried about it. But obviously, he's here. He's safe. He's enjoying the beach not too far away, right over there. But yeah, other than that, we've been really busy, me, the dog, and my partner, but busy in a good way. Like, we're getting things done. We're adjusting to life here. Things are a bit rocky just because we're changing economies. So, we're getting used to the cost of certain things. We're getting used to a bunch of different things right now. There's also good things that we're getting used to, like being at the ocean, things like that. But I'm really looking forward to regularizing. I don't know if that's the right way. But being more regular with my uploads and all that. I'm starting to get to a place where I can do that. And I need to look at where this channel is going, because for the last 3 years, the channel has been, it's been about me, but it's been about me in Peru. So now basically I'm going to be working in New York City. So now my vlogs are going to be about me and the city, which I think is kind of cool as well. But yeah, so I guess stay tuned for what this channel turns into, because I'm not quite sure where we're going yet. We're going somewhere. We're going together, but I don't know really what it's going to be. So anyway, it was a pleasure as always, and I will see you soon.